Happy Wisdom Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in and for choosing to spend some of your time with me. I'm Milagros, and this is a little space I like to carve out to share different tips, tools, techniques, nuggets, stories, anecdotes, different ways that you, I, us collectively, individually can help move the needle to new levels of healthy and happy, whatever that means for where we are right now in our lives. And during the month of August, I'm talking about different ways that we can kind of manage our time. And last week, I talked about understanding what your priorities are and really making sure that you are prioritizing your priorities, right? Because time is a construct and we get to decide how we're going to use that construct to best suit our needs. And if we say X is a priority in our life, but we're doing Y, Z, A, and B, then is X truly a priority in our lives? That's really important to acknowledge and to get clear about what our priorities are so that it can help us make decisions on how to use our time and our energy, which are our two most valuable assets, in order to make sure that those priorities are, again, being prioritized. So this week, I want to share a rather simple but really brilliant and delicious technique if you use it in your life. And it's the chunk it down method, which a lot of people have heard of. But again, when we hear something through repetition, it brings it closer and closer and more accessible. And then when it's fully accessible because it's right here, and I run into a project or a big thing that I have to take care of, and it feels like it has 1,000 steps, now this tool, because I've been hearing it over and over, I've been keeping it at the forefront of my mind, that tool is easily accessible. So then I can use that to help with the project or whatever it is I have to do. So basically it goes like this. When you have something to do, right, you can either, I like lists. I like writing things down and crossing things off. There's something really satisfying in crossing it off, and then I can do a little dance, give myself a high five for each thing that I cross off. I believe in celebrating along the way, not just celebrating at the end. So it could go one of two ways. You could either put it in your phone or digitally or write it on actual paper. Write what the big thing is that you have to do. Write all of the steps that go along with it. And then look at the steps and prioritize which is the most important or which one is under time constraint and which ones can I delegate, right? So these are important. These are the time constraints, which clearly means that those are the priorities for that particular project or thing that you're doing. And then these are the ones that I could delegate. I could get someone else to do or handle these pieces or these components, right? So once we know what we can delegate them. Sometimes there are things on the list that it's like, do you actually have to do those, or are you just creating more work for yourself? Be honest, because if you're creating more work, get rid of those. And then of the things that are listed that these things need to get done first in order to create building blocks or foundation for the rest, or this is something that I'm pressed on for time. I only have this certain window to take care of this thing, or I only have access to this person for this amount of time who can help me with this bit. Right? That way we're prioritizing based on what's actually happening in and around our constructs of time. Then you look at those and you say, okay, which one needs to be done first, second, third, fourth, whatever. Check, 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 check. And again, I recommend celebrating along the way. The other option, if you don't write them down, is doing something that's like a math formula. Not really. This is the best way I can think of it. I grabbed this book from the library and I really want to read this book. And when I borrow books from the library, they give you 3 weeks to borrow the book, and 3 weeks is 21 days. So I look at the book, it's 316 pages. I divide 316 by 21 and I get 15.047 or whatever. I like to round up. So let's say 16 pages. So if I read 16 pages a day, I can read this book in 3 weeks. That feels really manageable. I could do 15 pages. I could do 15 pages while I'm waiting for pasta to boil. I could do 15 pages while, let's be real, I'm using the bathroom. I could read 15 pages while I'm on my lunch break, right? A lot of times we look at the project or the thing and, oh my God, it's so big. And what something that can contribute to procrastination is feeling like it's so big that I don't even know where to start. I don't even know, oh my gosh, how am I going to get this right? Calm down. There are processes for this, right? So maybe it's looking at the project and then evenly dividing it amongst a certain amount of time, because I do have a time limit for this book that I give myself. I probably have a renewal, but I like to read a book every 3 weeks. 15 pages, I could do 15 pages, right? 5 at the top of the day, 5 at my lunch break, 5 before I go to bed, or whatever, 7 before I go to bed. And then I might be done a day early. So there are ways that we can look at the to-dos and the projects or what we want to do or create in our lives and chunk it down. When I wrote my last book, I created an outline for the book. I said, okay, on this day, I'm going to give myself a 3-hour block and I'm going to create an outline for the book. And I didn't have anything else going on. I literally blocked that time and made that designated for that. Then I took each line of that outline and said, I'm going to work on this for 30 minutes a night, because at that time, that's all I really had available, 30 minutes. And if I was on a tangent and I felt really good and I was just writing and it was just pouring through me and I wasn't super tired, I would give myself an extender past the 30 minutes. But I gave myself this kind of chunk of time to say, Maria, you can do this. You can write for 30 minutes. And it became such a delicious way to just kind of check the thing off of the list and to move the needle. You don't have to. I mean, there are people who sure can write a book in 5 to 10 days. Absolutely. And if you don't have that realistic time, I'm a single mom. I work. I have a part-time job. I teach classes at the gym. Like, that's not real. But if you have that time, go for it. Get it done. If not, just take chunks at a time. Chunks at a time. Chunks at a time. I remember when I listened to this interview of Toni Morrison, and she talked about how she wrote Beloved in 10 to 15 minute increments every morning. 10 to 15 minute increments. Beloved. Seriously. So sometimes you let time become our enemy, but really it's a friend, right? And we can look at our realistic schedules and say, I can do this right here. And I can do that every day for 10 minutes, right? And then by chunking it down, giving ourselves the opportunity to move the needle, which helps us get closer and closer to the goal. And if we're celebrating ourselves along the way, we're just going to have fun in the journey. And then when we get there, it's going to be even more magical because you've been practiced celebrating along the way. Chunk it down. Don't allow yourself to get freaked out by the big to-do. Chunk it down and then find small ways to move the needle every day. That's my advice for you for today. I hope that was helpful. If any of this resonated with you, let me know in the comments. And if you know someone who can benefit from it, please share it. That's what we're here for, because sharing is caring. And I'm sending you so much light and love, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'll see you next week. Peace.